Some honey is so dangerous to collect that one wrong step means falling hundreds of meters to your death. And yet, people still risk their lives for it. Not because it tastes better, not because it's sweeter, but because this honey can sell for more than gold. High in remote mountains, hunters climb cliffs with nothing but rope ladders, smoke and experience passed down for centuries. The bees are aggressive, the air is thin, and the product thereafter is known for causing hallucinations if consumed the wrong way. But here's the part most people don't realize. This extreme honey hunt is only the beginning. Across the world, honey is being pulled from skyscrapers, aged inside caves for over a decade, and sold in quantities so small that only a handful of people will ever taste it. And somehow, every year, the prices keep climbing. So, what makes honey worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands? Why do some varieties take years to harvest, while others risk lives in minutes? Because once you see how the world's rarest honey is collected, you'll understand why almost no one is willing to do it. And the first method is the most dangerous of them all. It starts with silence. No machines, no safety rails, just a hunter standing at the edge of a cliff, staring down hundreds of meters of empty air. These wild honey hunters don't search randomly. They wait for the perfect moment, usually midday when the sun is strongest. That's when the bees leave their hives and fly toward nearby streams to collect water and cool their colony. By tracking the bees' flight path backward, the real danger begins. The hunter straps on basic protective clothing, lights a smoker, and climbs using a rope ladder tied by hand. There's no harness, no backup. The ladder sways with every movement, and the higher he climbs, the stronger the wind becomes. As he reaches the hive, thousands of bees swarm instantly. The smoke helps, but it doesn't stop everything, so he moves fast, brushing the bees aside with leaves and carefully cutting into the hive without destroying it. Damaging the colony means no honey next year. And these hunters never take more than what the bees can survive without. After a few tense minutes, the honey is collected and lowered down in containers. The hunter descends slowly, exhausted, stung and shaking, but alive. And despite the risk, they return every year. But as dangerous as this hunt already sounds, it still doesn't explain why some honey is known for causing hallucinations. And that story begins much higher in the mountains. In the thin air of the Himalayas, the honey hunt turns from dangerous to outright unsettling. This is where something known as mad honey comes from, a rare variety produced when bees feed on specific mountain flowers that only grow at extreme altitudes. Reports claim that when this honey is consumed the wrong way, it can trigger dizziness, confusion, and vivid hallucinations. That's exactly how it earned its name. What makes this even more shocking is that almost no one is allowed to harvest it. For generations, only a handful of villages in Nepal have kept the knowledge alive. The methods aren't written down. They're passed from elder to hunter year after year as tradition. The process is terrifying. Hunters descend massive cliffs using handmade bamboo rope ladders that hang freely in the air. There's no solid wall to lean against, no safety line beyond a single rope tied around the waist. Below them is a drop so deep it disappears into fog. To distract the giant Himalayan bees, villagers light fires above and below the hive, filling the air with smoke. Even then, the bees attack relentlessly. Stings are expected. Panic is fatal. Once the hunter reaches the hive, he uses a long pole to slice chunks of honeycomb loose, sending them crashing hundreds of meters down to waiting tarps below. The goal isn't to take everything, only enough. Taking too much would destroy the colony, and that would end the tradition forever. The risk alone drives the price sky high. But the effects of the honey itself are what truly fuel its legend. Some swear by its use in traditional remedies. Others chase the strange sensations it's rumored to cause. And because the supply is tiny and unpredictable, demand always outweighs availability. But here's the twist. Even with all that danger, hallucinations, and ancient secrecy, this still isn't the most expensive honey on Earth. Because when risk meets rarity, prices don't just rise, they explode. Why risk turns honey into luxury? Here's where things get interesting. Honey itself isn't rare. You can find it in almost any store, in almost any country, for a few dollars. But the moment danger enters the equation, everything changes. When honey is pulled from places humans were never meant to reach, sheer cliffs, towering trees, or freezing mountain faces, supply collapses. Only a few harvests happen each year. Only a few hunters are skilled enough to survive the climb, and some seasons, the bees don't produce enough at all. That uncertainty is what drives the price. Collectors and buyers aren't just paying for taste. They're paying for the story, the risk, the knowledge that someone stood on the edge of death to bring that honey down. In luxury markets, danger becomes a feature, not a flaw. This is why wild honey can sell for dozens, sometimes hundreds, of times more than regular honey. Not because it's sweeter, but because it can't be mass-produced. When honey is harvested the safe way, compared to cliff hunting, modern beekeeping looks almost harmless. There are no rope ladders, no sheer drops, no hunters dangling over nothing. But that doesn't mean the process is careless or easy. Professional beekeepers still suit up from head to toe, using smoke to calm the colony before opening a hive. The goal isn't to overpower the bees, it's to work with them. Too much disruption and the colony collapses. Too little and the harvest fails. When the hive is opened, only certain frames are chosen, the ones that are at least mostly sealed with honey. Anything less means the honey isn't ready yet. And just as important as what they take is what they leave behind. Experienced beekeepers always return empty frames and leave a large reserve of honey inside the hive. In cooler regions, colonies need dozens of pounds to survive. In harsher climates, they need far more. Take too much, and the bees won't make it through the season. This balance is what separates sustainable beekeeping from exploitation. After the frames are removed, remaining bees are gently brushed away. The honey is extracted using centrifugal machines that spin the frames without destroying the comb, allowing the bees to reuse it later. Even in large-scale operations, efficiency still depends on precision. At first glance, this method feels ordinary, controlled, predictable. But here's the unexpected part. Some of the purest honey on the planet doesn't come from forest or farmland at all. It comes from the middle of major cities. And that discovery caught almost everyone off guard. The urban honey paradox. At first it sounds wrong. Skylines, traffic, concrete, pollution, none of that feels compatible with pure honey. But in reality, urban honey has quietly become one of the most surprising premium products on the market. In major cities like Paris, beehives sit on rooftops, museums, and historic buildings, completely hidden from the streets below. And according to reports, the honey produced here is often cleaner than honey from rural farmland. The reason is unexpected. Cities rarely use agricultural pesticides. There are no massive crop sprays, no chemical runoff, and no monoculture fields. Instead, bees collect nectar from parks, gardens, balconies, and tree-lined streets, creating a diverse floral mix that gives urban honey a unique flavor profile. Because production is limited and demand is high, the price reflects it. Small bottles of urban honey can sell for premium prices, often described as floral, delicate, and unusually complex. It's not mass-market honey, it's boutique. But even with clean production, beautiful branding, and city prestige, urban honey still has a ceiling. Because the real money in honey isn't just about purity, it's about reputation. And one name changed the entire market almost overnight. The most expensive honey on earth. This is where honey stops being food and turns into a luxury. Manuka honey comes from flowers that bloom for just a few days a year. Miss that window, and the harvest is gone. No backups, no second chances. It's only produced in isolated parts of New Zealand and Australia, where weather alone can wipe out an entire season. Even in good years, supply stays extremely low. Over time, Manuka honey gained a reputation for antibacterial properties and wellness use. Reports and lab ratings pushed demand through the roof, while nature kept supply locked. Some batches were released in tiny quantities, lab-tested and numbered, selling for thousands per jar. At that point, it stopped being honey and became a collector's item. And no amount of technology can fix that. You can use helicopters, machines, modern tools, but you can't force flowers to bloom longer. That's why this honey isn't expensive by choice, it's expensive by nature. In the end, the price of honey has nothing to do with sweetness. It's about how rare the moment is, and how dangerous it can be to capture it. Because when nature decides the limits, money doesn't get the final say.